now we begin with the last session for the day, which is an ISC, Indian Society of Cinematographers open house. I invite the panelist number 1, Ane Goswami. Ane Goswami, please come. He's an Indian cinematographer. He's a graduate from the Government College of Arts, Chandigarh, and Film and Television Institute of India. Thank you. Please be seated. Our next panelist for today is Neha Mehtiani. Neha is an Indian cinematographer based in Mumbai. In 2004, she graduated from the Film and Television Institute in Pune and has been working in feature films, ads, and web series over the past 14 years. Welcome. The next one on the panel is Prateek Shah. Prateek Shah is a cinematographer currently based in Los Angeles, California. He has published work for the Washington Post and the Washington Times and has been recognized by the National Press Photographers Association for his multimedia work. Prateek has a Bachelor's of Fine Arts in Fine Art Photography from the Corcoran College of Art and Design in Washington, D.C. The next one on the panel is Manu Anand. Manu Anand is an award-winning cinematographer who is appreciated for his work in the films Shuddh Desi Romance, Dam Laga Ke Haisha, Fan, and Zero, and the recently released Dhamaka. He is in post-production for Bhool Bhulaiya. Oh, that's old, yeah. Sorry. Yeah. The next one on the panel today is Archana Borhade. She's an Indian director, cinematographer, and screenwriter. She's worked at Wipro Technologies India as a SAP consultant for 2 years before making a career shift to filmmaking in late 2007. She worked as a first AC Gaffer Associate and second unit cinematographer on several prestigious Bollywood films, ranging from low-budget indie Amir to big-budget blockbuster My Name is Khan. Since 2012, she has shot several commercials, corporate films, shorts, and music videos as an independent director of photography. She has also shot and directed several short documentaries for the India chapter of international NGO, Ashoka Innovators for the Public. And this session is going to be moderated by Sudeep Chatterjee. Sudeep Chatterjee is an Indian cinematographer who mainly works in Hindi films and Bengali films. He has collaborated with critically acclaimed directors like Buddhadev Dasgupta, Vishal Bhardwaj, Srijit Mukherjee, Sanjay Leela Bansali, and Nagesh Kukunur. So welcome, dear panelists, and the moderator. Let us hear from you. Over to you. Thank you.
Hello. Yeah. Hi, everybody. First thing we have to say is we are all behind the camera people. We are not used to talking. And we are not used to, the lights facing us. So you'll have to bear with us and help us get through. It's an interactive session. The session is called Ways of Seeing. It's a very broad subject. I don't know how to start talking about it. But I feel the images that we create, they come out of our mind. And where does it come from? I think it comes from how we see things. And I can start by saying how I see things. What are my ways of seeing? And then I'll throw it over to my peers. So, for me, ways of seeing, as a cinematographer, I think I see it with my heart. I think that's when you see it with your heart, with compassion, I think you can get a better view of the world. And at the end of the day, the images that you make, they have to communicate, and they have to be, they have to, and that can happen only when you look at life compassionately, and you look at minute details, not just pretty things, but you observe, and you. So, over to Ane.
Hello, good afternoon. So, like Dada said, it's really a very very broad subject, or I mean rather, I would say, ये विषय जो है ये जिसने भी चुना है, it's rather difficult to talk about it in this gathering, and obviously we're all here because of a certain connection. We are all in some way connected to films, and we want to connect with each other. So in some sense एक संबंध है हम there's a lovely prefix in Urdu which is हम. So हम पेशावर हैं सब, and हम रंग हैं, हम आवाज़ हैं. So in some sense there's a commonality that's going to obviously run through all of us and amongst all of you all. So we're all obviously looking for a certain kind of resonance through our work. But in terms of ways of seeing, when this came to us, we were all a bit stumped because most of us have been sort of wondering what we're going to talk about because it's all too broad. So in terms of ways of seeing per se, I actually just want to invoke upon, obviously, when we produce a certain visual work, आपके सामने एक दृश्य होता है, वो दृश्य है, दृष्टि है, दृष्टा है, और obviously अगर हम कुछ दर्शाएंगे तो उसके लिए हमारा भी जीवन में कुछ दर्शन होना चाहिए. जिस चीज़ का हमारा कोई जीवन में दर्शन नहीं है वो हम शायद दर्शा नहीं सकते. So that's exactly what Dada is saying in another way, that obviously we borrow from our life's experiences, look, our worldviews of empathy and compassion, and associations, really the connections we make in our mind. It's beyond, obviously, it's beyond the look and beyond the sight. It is really about the inner sight or the inner mind. So it's a very personal process for everyone because of their personal associations with the various multifarious emotions that we're dealing with and trying to portray, and hopefully we're going to be able to get an audience travel with us to our vantage point of view per se, or maybe just like pull an audience. If let's say for instance you decide to shoot handheld in a very organic way, then you're obviously wanting the audience to dance with you and be much more immersive. So it's really broadly borrowing from our experiences of life, and I think that's going to run commonly with every one of us.
Yeah. So Dada and Anay have said exactly what all of us are going to say. We shoot with our life experiences. What the audience sees is a lot of us that comes out with the story, and so I'm just going to take it a step forward. What is now changing is there was once a time where we could only create what we see, and we only had a certain amount of resources to be able to do that. And now we have AI and we have VFX that has changed the game entirely. But taking from what they said, AI can only replicate what a human being has taught it till a certain extent. What makes each of our work stand out is our life experiences. So I feel like everything, we were going to embrace all the new technology that's going to come in. We're going to embrace AI. We've embraced from film to digital, we've embraced any sort of change that has come. But with every visual that you see, there is always a little bit of the person who has created that image. So, you read something, and before you actually have a discussion with somebody, you've already formed an image of what you want the world to see. So, that's all, yeah.
When I look around the room here, I see a lot of students, a lot of cinematographers, a lot of aspiring cinematographers, and I think that the question you always ask yourself is, how do I translate those words on screen? How do I communicate with the director? How do I turn that into something visually that is part of myself? And I think that's what we're all saying here, is that, like, yes, it's life experience, it's the way you see the world individually. And I think that's the thing you have to always hone in on. That's what we do within our work. It's not so much of, how can I now take a script that's a completely different story, that's a completely different worldview, and just operate. You can't do that. It's coming from the heart, just like they've said. It's coming from your life experiences. It's important to identify who you are, how you see the world, what's your politics, what's your stance on a lot of things, and you bring that in to how you visualize. That's pretty much the process, I would say, that what we do with every project. And how do you build those training wheels? Where does that come from? It comes from whether it's watching a lot of other films and shows, reading books, traveling. I think for me with Jubilee, the way that we kind of formed that way of seeing, it started from just having a very broad conversation about what would Scorsese do. That's literally the only reference, the only conversation we ever had was, what would Scorsese do? And from there, we just started to hang out and build a connection and understand, like, how the two of us see darkness, how we see light, what that informs, you about a character. What does that say about this person and the storyline between these two characters? So I think it's just necessary to sometimes break it down beyond what's the job and go a little step back internally and figure out what affects you. And you start from that point to build that connection with the director.
My peers have said pretty much everything that needs to be said, and I really agree with what Prateek said and what Ane also said. Of course, it comes from our life experiences, but then we are also trying to embody a sense of a certain emotion that a script has inherently in it. And sometimes my life experience is not in the script, but I have to somehow imagine what these characters might feel and how the director wants to convey a certain emotion of the scene that I necessarily might not have experienced. And there, I think my ability to imagine or to transport myself into the world of the characters, pretty much how the audience goes and watches a film in a cinema and transports itself into a portal into another world while viewing it. So while thinking of the script, you literally have to somehow transport yourself into a portal and put yourself into that world and see how you see that particular world would be lit, or that particular world will have the way the camera would move in that world, the way the faces would look, the way the light would look. So everything, for me at least, comes from imagining myself and sort of transporting myself into the portal of the script and into the world that that script leads to. So it comes from that for me.
Hello, everyone. First of all, I just want to say I'm completely overwhelmed today because the amount of talent that is on this stage. And I'm getting to share it with them because each of them has created something that I aspire to. And I hope that someday in my life, I can achieve the kind of work that they have done. So first of all, I'm just thankful to all of you. I am thankful to Broadcast India. I am thankful to ISC for making me part of this. All of them have actually said something very significant, and that is that whatever a cinematographer does comes from the heart. They react to the script in the way their life experiences have shaped them. Now, I would like to go just a little step ahead and just give you an example. For most of us, the journey always starts with the screenplay. When you start reading the scenes, what it is that your mind is coming up with in terms of visuals. Now, if I'm reading a love story, and obviously all of us have gone through some or the other kind of heartbreaks in life, we don't have to talk about it, but all of us have. So, in that love story, I will try to look for that one dramatic scene which kind of seals the whole screenplay for me. And that's my starting point of how I see the whole story. So now when I have gone through something, what is it that I went to recover from. Like, how did I recover from that? So did I go read a poetry? Did I go see some paintings? Did a story help me? Did a film help me? Something helped me. So I will try to go back to that. I will try to go back to that palette which helped me. I'll try to go back to that story, that poetry, that film that helped me, and try to find what I'm looking for in that particular source which comforted me. And from that scene, I'll start building the visual language for the rest of the film. And then, of course, I will go and discuss with the director, because cinematographers are the director's eyes. We are here to realize the vision of the director, the storyteller. So then we will try to come together to a common point. We are going to sit down. I'm going to tell him what I thought of the story, what I thought of the scene. I thought about this is the way to stage it. Maybe this is the lighting. Maybe this is the time of the day. Maybe it's already written in the screenplay. Am I interpreting it in my way? And from there, we start building the whole visual journey that we are going to go on. After that, the second step that becomes very crucial for me is actually the location recce. Like when we set out to see the locations. And then that starts giving us an idea about how we are going to stage the scenes in this location, in that location. So many times when we are traveling, we see something very unique. And maybe in the screenplay, the scene has been written that it happens in a house. But we see like a mountain top, which does not interfere with the story, but which gives us a great backdrop for that particular scene. So I will discuss with the director, can we do it here? Can we do it at sunset? Can we convey the visual of a heartbreak happening, someone refusing or someone breaking someone's heart right here? And the director will be like, okay, this is the way I can see it. So, it's a very collaborative kind of process. It kind of builds up from the script and then goes to so many different places. The location recce adds to it. The rest of the team, the production designer comes in, the costume people come in, the actors come in. Every single person kind of collaborates in the formation of this endeavor that we call a feature film or a web series or a short film or anything. And even the worst kind of shows or whatever you see, trust me, it has taken a lot of effort, a lot of heartbreak to be able to achieve that. So you can only imagine what goes on in the minds of the collaborators when they are creating a true work of genius. And some of us have managed to be on such projects, so we are very fortunate. And I think each photograph, painting, essay, story, any work of art, somebody else's feature film, even a passing image, even right now you guys sitting over here looking at us, this whole hallway, everything is going to get stored in our memory, and some point of time in the future when we make a feature film, it's going to come back rushing to us and we are going to say, this is how the scene should be set. So, there are like so many ways of seeing. It totally depends on who you are as a person, and you start building up your storytelling, narrative style from deep inside. So that's what I can say.
I think we should open up the house for questions. Unless anyone... Unless anyone wants to say something.
The one thing that Archana said, I didn't mention that we're talking about ways of seeing, but one thing that really helps me is music. Sound and music somehow help to get a sense of an emotion that helps me translate it visually. So a lot of times I will ask a director, what kind of music do you see or feel in this scene? And that really helps me understand the emotion, because I think music conveys something so powerful and strikes to the heartstrings so viscerally that I think it's, for me at least, it's the number one way that it helps me see, at least. So.
Yeah, I think also listening to music inherently develops a sense of composition. I don't know how to put it in words, but it's all about being in that rhythm, and I think it's a great tool. I think I really get inspired by music. I listen to a lot of music. In fact, I would say if you tell me who are your biggest inspirations? I would only name musicians because and some writers. I think R.D. Varman would be my most the person who has influenced me the most, more than any cinematographer.
Bhimsen Joshi.
Yes. All of them.
Questions, please? Yeah.
Hi, I'm Soham here. My question is for Prateek. Since you have been working in Los Angeles, even I have been in Los Angeles for a couple of years. I studied there, I worked there. What mindset change do you think, or what adjustment changes do you think would require for a creative person, a director or cinematographer, working in Los Angeles, coming back to Mumbai and working in the working culture of the Mumbai film industry?
Yeah, so first of all, I think that bio was a little outdated. I've been here for the last 4.5 years. I'm from the States originally, but I've been working here for the last 4.5 years. I was shooting there while I was in film school there as well. So I can't speak too much on the industry differences, but what I can say is from the process that I learned of how to work on a film set when I was at UCLA to working here for the last 4.5 years, it's not much different. You're still creating stories, you're still telling stories, you're collaborating with the same HODs. It's no different in that sense. Of course, there are going to be some differences, but the bigger challenge ends up being how do you get your foot in the door? How do you find that collaborator? How do you get noticed? Which is a whole other thing that I don't think we have to get into now.
If I may, a follow-up question to that. So, since you have been here for a couple of years, you went to Los Angeles, you had a broader perspective of the world. Since our films are now getting global, what do you think are the major elements as a cinematographer or any creative person in that sense to adapt in your work in order to make our work global?
Well, that's a fair question. I think
Can you specify what you mean by saying global?
So there is a way we portray our films, there's a way we portray our stories, there's a way, for example, Korean films have their portrayal of stories, there is a way American films have their portrayal of stories. American films in general are films that are global, you could say, because most of them watch it. Indian films, we want to be global, we are getting there. What is the main element as a cinematographer? For example, some kind of inspiration from past cinematographers or some kind of techniques that we would use in order to enhance our work.
I would just repeat the same answer I said before, which is that it's no different where you are. You're making stories here, you're making stories there. There's no difference. If you feel that way, I would say one thing that comes to mind when I first came here was looking at finishing of a film with colorists. And I like every single person on this panel has worked in ways where they really understand proper finishing and coloring and the collaboration that's involved with their colorists. That's something that I would say maybe, but otherwise I think it's the same thing, man, no matter where you are.
Thank you.
Dada, Shrita, I'd just like to answer the global question. So, I don't know why we have to make our films global. I think we have such a unique aesthetic that we don't have to change. I think people should get accustomed to our aesthetic more than us changing our aesthetic to cater to them. The Korean films got accepted because they were open to the Korean films, and they are getting open to our films now. I think people used to make fun of our song and dance films and didn't understand them, but the problem is not in our song and dance film. The problem is in a lack of their understanding of the song and dance film. We love our song and dance films. Our very first films had songs and dance. Our theatrical tradition had song and dance. So we respond to it, and I think the more people will watch it, they will respond to it, and our films will become global automatically. So,
in the 1930s, Rabindranath Tagore did a very interesting thing. when he opened up the Shantiniketan School of Arts. At that point of time, this whole idea of globalization was so strong that every Indian artist was only practicing a Western way of painting. And what he did was he completely, open this center to look inwards, look into our own culture, our own painting techniques, and develop the whole Shantiniketan school and see what it has done, see where it is taken up, what are the artists who have come out. I think it's very important to look inwards and look very strongly at what is so uniquely Indian about us, and I think that's the most global thing that we can do.
Any more questions? Yeah.
Hello everyone, my name is Manika Sisodia and I have a question from Neha ma'am. Ma'am, I'm a student of cinematography and I don't know where do I start from, how to put a feet in industry basically.
Okay, that's a difficult one to answer. I mean, people choose different paths. Some people probably go to film school and then try to assist. Some people try to learn on the job. And
Ma'am,
when you say...
I'm already in a film school.
Okay.
Yes, I'm doing cinematography.
And foot in the door, I mean, I can only tell you my own experience. When I came to Bombay, I thought I wanted to work, I wanted to work as an assistant, and somebody advised me saying, first make a list of the top 3 people that you want to work with. Yes. You need to start somewhere. You can't just have a thing that I want to start working and suddenly one day you'll get a call. That's not going to happen. So, like I said, I'm only telling you by my experience. I made a list of the top 3 people that I wanted to work with. I called them and I followed up and I followed up. And for me, I lucked out. The first person who was on my list had an opening and I managed to get my foot into the door. But it's a very difficult path. If you don't manage to luck out getting that one person who will mentor you. But having said that, when I started about 18 years ago, things were different. There was advertising and there was films, and that's about it. In today's time, there is so much that one can do. You don't need to just wait for somebody to open the door for you. You create your own door and walk in. You can shoot stuff, you can think, you can write, you can shoot, you can edit, you can color, you can do everything sitting and doing it in your own house at a very low cost. And then hope that it gets noticed and it takes you somewhere. But there is no straight path that I can advise you about.
What should I do when I want to work under you? If I want to work under you, what should I do?
I'll share my email address with you after this.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Awais. My question is open to everyone. Just coming back to ways of seeing, we spoke about, everyone has, comes from different experiences. So when we are getting on a project, the director is there, the cinematographer is there, the production designer is there, and they come from very diverse experiences. For someone, maybe the skies are bluer towards dusk, and for some, they are less bluer. So, how do you kind of, resolve these differences and stay on the same page? Because everyone has a different way of seeing, and, how do you get it together?
I don't know, I think eventually that's why you have a director who directs your vision. That's the job of a director. We all bring in our visions and he kind of directs it in one way. You have to trust the filmmaker with his vision.
So what really is your question, that how do we really bridge the gap?
The question is, we all come from diverse experiences and our imagery is very different, from person to person. How do we get on the same page? For example, the skies, say the director sees it, slightly more bluer, and I see it, that's getting too blue.
Well, that diversity of what we bring to the table, each one of us, is really the beauty of it. And obviously, you're hoping that your collaboration is truly collaborative. That's the first thing. And I think, like Manu said, sometimes it's really you having to transport yourself and entering that portal and being able to obviously not just accept, imbibe sometimes and take forward. As a cinematographer, it's really, you hope to sort of take off from that springboard, which is the director's vision, the screenplay, what's on paper, and the written word, to really translate the written word. I think everybody has their own process for it. The production designer, the cinematographer, the various other heads of department, but really it's steered by the director. Sometimes, maybe the director needs the cinematographer to sharpen his vision, strengthen his vision, and they will rely heavily on the cinematographer. So you arrive at those sort of collaborations as well. But all in all, we're hoping that you have a sort of all-accepting collaboration with the director and the other heads of department. So it's really a symbiotic sort of process which thaws out over time. Sometimes it's like I'll give you an example, my personal example on my very first film with Aparna Sen that I did, and I hadn't met her, but she had wanted to shoot with me based on some work of mine that she had seen. I hadn't met her, and she just wanted to discuss the script with me and my feedback on the script over a phone call, and this is like 17, 18 years ago. So we would talk about certain scenes, and somehow each time I would mention something regarding a particular work of art or a painting or a photographer, for instance, she would mimic that, or in a sense, or I would be mimicking exactly what she was thinking, and she'd be like, oh, I was thinking exactly the same thing. So sometimes you find yourself in that sort of a, that kind of serendipity and that kind of a collaboration, but sometimes it thaws out over time and you get closer to each other. So obviously for that sort of collaboration, you need to be able to, give each other space and accept each other's point of view. And director is the captain of the ship, the script is the Bible. These are the words we've all heard and phrases we've all heard, but truly it's translating what's on page. Everybody has a different way. For instance, if I'm doing a particular scene or reading a particular scene, if I give the same scene to all of us sitting here and more of you here, every one of us will see it differently. Everybody's going to interpret it differently. But that's the beauty of it, really, to be able to see what the other person is saying and listen to the other person and bring in your own point of view and hopefully not stepping on each other's toes.
To answer your question on bridging the gap, so it's a negotiation. Like most things, sometimes you have directors who are benevolent dictators and they will take the final call. Sometimes they are very trusting and they will let the DOP and the team decide how they want to go about it. But it's a negotiation and it's a way of working. You're not solely responsible for the final image. You're a sum of many parts. So you negotiate in good faith and you sort of try to convince people to your vision. Sometimes they convince you to theirs, and the end result is a collaborative outcome from all of it. So.
हेलो सर, माय नेम इज़ मानसी। मेरा सवाल ये है कि अभी अभी काम शुरू किया है और इतने सारे प्रोजेक्ट तो तुरंत नहीं मिलने वाले, तो जिस वक्त पे आप काम नहीं करते हो उस वक्त रियाज़ कैसे करना चाहिए, यानी फ़ोटोग्राफी छोड़ के। और ये भी सवाल है कि इतने साल इतने सारे प्रोजेक्ट करने के बाद भी वो रियाज़ की ज़रूरत पड़ती है क्या, और आपके तरीके क्या है? थैंक यू।
आई थिंक रियाज़ तो वैसे नहीं, पर I think life experience करना चाहिए. What I do a lot of human tourism. I think that's the most important thing for me. I like interacting with people. I really enrich myself with their stories, with their experiences. It just that, and for me, it's a lot of reading, listening to music. because all of this, what we're experiencing, will, enhance me as a person, and that will, you know, shape my images in some way. So, plus also रियाज की आप बात कर रहे हो तो आजकल technology is advancing in such a at such an amazing pace that you have to be very updated. So you have to read up a lot because it's a great time that your image can be aided by technology in a very big way. So the more you understand it, the more you have a very thorough theoretical knowledge, the easier it is for you to anything else? Yeah, you can just take the mic from there.
हेलो ऑल ऑफ़ यू मेरा नाम आयुष झा है और मैं अभी रिसेंटली मुंबई आया हूँ. तो मेरा क्वेश्चन ये है कि एज अ स्टूडेंट, और मैं अभी स्टूडेंट बनना चाहता हूँ, तो मैंने ये रिसर्च किया है कि ज़्यादातर लोग बोलते हैं ऑन द जॉब ट्रेनिंग करो. ऑन द जॉब मीन्स आप डायरेक्ट असिस्ट कर सकते हो या इंटर्न कर सकते हो, एंड द दूसरा जो थिंग होता है वो आप फिल्म स्कूल में जाके कर सकते हो. तो ये जो दो चीज़ें सामने आई हैं उससे बहुत डिफ़िकल्टीज होती है चॉइस करने में कि आप फिल्म स्कूल जाके वेट करें या फिर आप डायरेक्ट जाके अपना इंटर्नशिप या कुछ भी ऐसा कर सकते हैं. तो मेरा क्वेश्चन ये है कि इन दोनों में से कौन सा वे बेटर है एज अ सिनेमेटोग्राफर चूज़ करने के लिए, और साथ में फिर आपको इन दी एंड अगर हम फिल्म स्कूल चूज़ करते हैं तो वापस से हमें असिस्ट ही करना होता है स्टार्टिंग से, तो हमें क्या चूज़ करना चाहिए एज अ स्टूडेंट?
See, I'll tell you my experience of a film school, that I was there 3 years. See, I mean, one thing that is different today is today there are many ways of learning the craft. There is, you can learn cinematography on YouTube, or you can also assist somebody and learn that. What film school did to me was, I was in an environment with like-minded people. I was in an environment of cinema. I was living and breathing cinema every minute, and it was a fantastic atmosphere, and that atmosphere helped me self-discover. And I think it's very important that you self-discover, you understand yourself, because the images that you're going to make is so much about yourself and so much about you. अपने आप को जानना बहुत, अपने आप को तैयार करना बहुत ज़रूरी है. तो my film school experience has helped me do that, and I was lucky enough that I could afford to spend that time. बहुतों के पास वो टाइम नहीं होता है. दैट एक्सपीरियंस यू कैन डू इट विदाउट गोइंग टू अ फिल्म स्कूल ऑल्सो. फिल्म स्कूल इज़ अ ग्रेट टूल, बट इट्स नॉट दैट आप तो ऐसे भी काम सीख सकते हो, आप ऐसे भी यू कैन असिस्ट और यू कैन लर्न इन एनी वे. सो दैट्स व्हाट आई फील.
ओके सर, थैंक यू सर.
Hi everyone, my name is Yash. Sorry. My question is open to everyone. Since all of you are cinematographers, you're also filmmakers in your hearts, and I'm sure all of us watch films and love some films and love some type of stories, and want to make or work on the films that you like. Although as cinematographers, you don't really always get the scripts that you maybe agree with, or sometimes you also get scripts that that you will execute correctly, but maybe you don't connect with those scripts, and you still as a DP you still sometimes have to choose to do it for whatever reasons. My question is, do you really distinguish between that, and how much do you give in to it's just my job to shoot the film and execute it, and how do you maybe do this type of stuff that you always wanted to do? Thank you so much.
I'll take that. So, like somebody asked in the beginning, how do you get your foot in the door? When you're starting off, sometimes out of insecurity, sometimes considering you've left the city that you live in and you've come to Bombay to make this your new home, there are a lot of things that will drive you to your initial projects. You might take the first thing that comes your way. You may not always agree with what you're shooting. All of that happens. Let's talk about a stage where you've now passed that. Now you have your constant livelihood. You know that everything is taken care of. When you can make choices. a lot of times what happens is your choices are not, you may not get the best of scripts, but you know what you don't want to do. There are certain films that would come to me and I know that I do not identify with the politics of this film, irrespective of what the scale is, who the actors are, how much money they're paying me. I will not do that film. So in the beginning you may not be able to make those choices, but eventually when you're in a state where you can, one always chooses as per their politics and whether they can execute it to the best of their abilities, whether they identify with the milieu of what it is. So it's all of that, and whether you enjoy the story once you've read it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's a bit of a privileged idealist mindset, but for me the answer is yes. I think it's necessary to be picky because at the end of the day, like, it's an expression. You're a part of an art form, whether or not commercially it's become more pop cinema these days or not, it's still something that you're choosing to express something from deep down within. If you don't connect to it and you have the privilege of saying no because you don't need the money, then I'm all for sticking to what you believe in. I think that's important once you're at that stage that Neha's talking about.
I also sometimes take it as a challenge to do films that putting myself out of my comfort zone. So I feel it helps me to challenge myself. So I try, and I've done different genres with different directors. And I think what Shudipda said in the beginning makes a lot of sense, that, you know, nobody sets out to make a bad film. No director is trying to make a bad film. No script writer is trying to write a bad script. Everybody is trying to do the best they can. And when you have compassion for the director and they approach you sometimes with, like, you know, like, please do my film and I would really love to see your vision. And sometimes you might not necessarily be feeling that this is something you want to do, but putting yourself out of the comfort zone, for me at least, has always led to better things happening. And challenging myself has led to better things happening.
सर, my name is ओमराज, और मैं जानना चाहता हूं कि सर, मैं 3 साल से लाइटमैन का काम किया था और 6-7 साल से असिस्टेंट एंड फोकस फिलर काम करता हूं। तो मैं जानना चाहता हूं कि फिल्म में लाइट यूज क्यों होता है। फिल्म शूट करते हैं तो हम लाइट यूज क्यों करते हैं।
आप पूछ रहे हैं कि हम लाइट का इस्तेमाल क्यों करते हैं पिक्चरों में।
या
तो अंधेरे में कैसे करेंगे। मतलब लाइट का इस्तेमाल एक, आप लाइटमैन का काम करते हैं, आप कह रहे हैं।
लाइटमैन का काम 6 इयर्स पहले मैं कर चुका हूँ।
ठीक है। तो अने,
और मैंने बहुत सारे डीओपी के साथ काम किया हूँ, जैसे कि माननीय आदरणीय विनोद प्रधान सर जी का अभी भी मैं फोकस फिलर और असिस्टेंट भी करता हूँ। और गैमिक सर जो बच्चन पांडे डीओपी हैं, उन लोग के साथ भी मैं बहुत सारे शूट कर चुका हूँ। तो मैं जानना चाहता हूँ कि लाइट का यूज क्यों होता है फिल्म में।
आप कह रहे हो कि मतलब ये आर्टिफिशियल लाइट क्यों यूज़ करते हैं, नेचुरल लाइट में क्यों नहीं शूट करते।
हाँ,
ये ना, तो आपको क्या देखना है सिनेमा में, जो जो आप आंखों से देखते हो वही देखना चाहते हो, तो आप सिनेमा हॉल में क्यों जाते हो। आपको कुछ अलग देखना है ना, आपको कुछ वो अलग दिखाने के लिए लाइट यूज़ करते हैं हम। जो ऐसा नहीं है कि लाइट हर समय यूज़ करना ही चाहिए, पर कभी जब आप चीज़ों को मोल्ड करना चाहते हो, जब आप चीज़ों को अपनी तरह से दिखाना चाहते हो, तो आप फिर मतलब न्यूज़ देखो, फिर आपको सिनेमा देखना नहीं है तो।
सर, मुझे जहाँ तक कुछ लोगों ने बताया और डीओपी एंड असिस्टेंट एंड डायरेक्टर लोग ने बताया है कि मतलब लाइट जो होते हैं स्टोरी क्रिएट करते हैं, और करने के लिए तो हम कुछ भी कर सकते हैं, विदाउट लाइट भी शूट कर सकते हैं, नेचुरल पे भी कर सकते हैं, लेकिन लाइट जो होता है स्टोरी क्रिएट करता है। और कुछ डीओपी ऐसे बोलता है कि हम लोग ब्यूटी दिखाने के लिए करते हैं, कुछ बोलते हैं कि हम लोग कुछ नहीं, बस ऐसे ही शूट कर लेते हैं कि अच्छा दिखना चाहिए। और कुछ अच्छे डीओपी ने बताए हैं, जैसे मेरा बॉस बताया विनोद प्रधान सर ने, कि स्टोरी क्रिएट ये मेन पॉइंट है। तो हम जानना चाहते हैं कि सही क्या है.
सही इसमें जैसे चित्रकार है, चित्रकार रंगों से चित्र बनाता है, तो हम छायाकार हैं, हम लाइट से चित्र बनाते हैं, और वो लाइट जो है वो
थैंक यू सर.
वो लाइट का जो मूड है, वो लाइट का जो रंग है, उससे वो चित्र बनते हैं और उससे आपकी जो भावनाएं जगती हैं उस लाइट से जगती हैं. तो इसीलिए हम लाइट का इस्तेमाल करते हैं.
कुछ चीज़ें जो हैं सर प्रकृति जो बनाए हैं बहुत सोच समझ के बनाए हैं. जैसे हम कहीं पे हैं और खुले ग्राउंड में हैं, तो वहाँ पे हम कोई लाइट यूज नहीं करते हैं, और वहाँ पे जहाँ तक है कि मतलब प्रकृति का दिन है 1 सन एंड नाइट में 1 मून होते हैं, तो हमारा शैडो भी 1 होता है जहाँ पे कोई लाइट यूज नहीं करते हैं. तो शायद गॉड भी जो बनाए हैं कुछ चीज़ें वो बहुत सोच समझ के बनाए हैं. और
आपका सवाल का जवाब मिल गया आपको?
हाँ सर, थैंक यू सर.
Hello, sir. Good evening. My name is Ishita. I'm a new aspiring cinematographer. Yeah. I'm aspiring cinematographer. I'm just started assisting here new to Bombay. So being a new cinematographer, I want to know if I started trying to do indie project for shooting, how choosing camera is important. Like it's a budget constant, and nowadays there is digital. There can be shoot in iPhone also, but with the budget constant, how a newcomer cinematographer can choose camera, and how important to choose camera for your script, like for the story.
Hi, can I get your name, please?
Ishita. My name is Ishita.
Ishita. Ishita, you're the cinematographer of this project? No, keep the mic with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and how you have read the screenplay and everything?
Yeah.
What is the end objective of this film? Are you going to put it on OTT? Are you going to put it on YouTube? Are you going to release it in the theater? What is the end goal?
So basically, plan for the theater, but it's an indie project. So it can be go for the OTT also.
Or it can go for the film festival as well.
Yes. So there are a lot of variations. So new projects, and so how important to choose the camera.
So you have a producer in place?
Yeah, whole team is there.
Okay. So I'll tell you from my experience, because I've also produced and shot the feature film. See, please understand where you're going to put your film out. Okay? If you're going to give it to the OTT, if you're going to go to film festival, only film festival and then you're okay. You don't care about the money coming back. See, there are a lot of projects which are artistic, right? And the makers, the producer is like, I want to make this film. I don't care if it goes to the OTT or not. I don't care if my money is recovered or not. In my case, I will tell you, when we started off making the feature film, we had to think that because of the budget, it was a low budget film, but I still wanted to recover the budget. So I knew that it had to end up on an OTT. And OTT has standards, they have specifications about what camera work or what level of resolution they are going to accept.
Yes.
So you have to understand as a DOP that it is your job to tell the director and the producer, don't give me ekdam low resolution ka camera. Give me something that I can sell, that you guys can eventually sell to the OTT. So as a DOP, it becomes your job. Okay. Second thing, they will talk to you about budget. Everybody always talks about budget. I will tell you, all of that budget will come to nothing if eventually your acquisition format is rejected. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
So you might save like 2 lakhs, 3 lakhs on a acquisition format. They will say, chalo tum Alexa mat karo, tum is pe Canon 5D pe shoot karo. But who is going to purchase your film afterwards? And what is your responsibility as a DOP? Your responsibility is to tell them that these are the acquisition formats that the OTTs are accepting. If you want to go theatrical also, you have to shoot at a certain resolution. You can't go below that. Also, this is another interesting thing. I and Pratik were talking just as we were coming up. You have to also think about the future a little bit.
Yes.
Now, I sold my film to Sony Live, okay? And right now it is there. So my acquisition format was Alexa Mini Okay, I shot at 2.8K. 2 months after I sold the film, they said, "What is your acquisition format?" I said, "It is 2.8K." And they said, "Do you have a 4K version?" You know why? Because they're preparing for the future. They're preparing for the next 5 years when the resolution is going to be improved even more. So the OTTs have started asking you on questions like that. Now, if they had asked me before I sold the film, there was a chance it might have not got sold also. They came to that conclusion 3 months afterwards, then mandate changed. So always make sure, this is very, very important for every aspiring cinematographer. Ask the producer, what is the end goal of this film? Where are you going to put it up? Is it a theatrical? Is it a film festival? You plan to sell it? You're okay not selling it? Because the OTT platforms will hound you to a certain resolution only. They are not going to accept low resolution stuff. So please, please inform your directors, producers, your financiers, everyone about that. Okay, so does that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much.
I'll just add one little point to that. So what Archana said, the format, resolution and everything is important. But so you have multiple cameras that will meet those OTT standards now. Now within that choice, I always tell my assistants also, choose the one that you have the most practice with and you're the most comfortable with. Or you spend enough time getting really comfortable with it because it's like an extension of you when you're shooting. So this, amongst those 7, 8, choose the one that you're most comfortable with.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Anybody else?
Hello, sir. I have my question for every one of you. So, my question is versatility of a cinematographer. As in, we have many genres, many styles. Someone can shoot an art film to a commercial. So, what if, as in my case, I'm thinking to shoot, I have shotted a very artistic piece, like with a director, and it is very art film. And then I come to a director who is very commercial. And I have even shot with him a commercial piece. Okay, what I'm speaking? Okay, sorry so much. So my question is versatility of a cinematographer. So recently I shot a very artistic film, which is very deep art, film which is like an Andrei Tarkovsky film, a very deeply art film. Then I shot a commercial, which is like a digital ad. So my question is, should a cinematographer take a side and go with a genre or a specific style? Because so I get a lot of comments that you should select a style because it might you must have a style or a genre for yourself.
When you say style, do you mean that you should always light a certain way and somebody should know that this person has shot it? Is that what you mean by style?
Yeah, maybe. No, but it's like if you're shooting a very artistic film, which is a dark piece of art, and then you're shooting a commercial which is very bright, yeah. And you just hop in between and doing these kind of projects. Does it make any effect on your skill ahead? Like if agar मैं commercials कर रहा हूँ, then I do an artistic film, then my perspective of art has been changed because of the commercial style I've been doing on all.
पर आप commercial को art क्यों नहीं समझते?
No, I prefer it as an art only.
ये distinction जो है कि ये art film है और ये commercial film है, ये distinction क्यों है?
Because I've heard it from a lot of people.
No, but basically, sorry.
पहले आप.
You basically have to be true to the story that you're telling.
Yes.
So, like he is saying, you can't do a demarcation of everything that is being created is art. Good art, bad art, that is all dependent on perspective. So, it's just, you have to be true to what you're doing at that given point in time.
मैं एक उदाहरण देता हूँ. मैंने अभी देवानंद के 100 साल के जन्म दिवस पे गाइड पिक्चर देखी थिएटर में जाके. उससे ज़्यादा आर्टिस्टिक और कमर्शियल फिल्म दोनों मैंने देखी नहीं आज तक. अब ये डिस्टिंक्शन जो है हम क्यों बनाते हैं? आप गाइड देखोगे, आप बोलोगे ये तो कमर्शियल फिल्म है. या आर्ट फिल्म है, क्या है ये? तो ये डिस्टिंक्शन मेरे हिसाब से है ही नहीं. ये हर एक आर्ट इज सब्जेक्टिव इन एनी केस.
Got it.
I think also as far as like from the cinematographer's point of view, just a couple examples you can look at. If you look at Greg Fraser, who shot Rogue One, or Bradford Young, who shot Solo, I think everyone might be familiar with Bradford Young's work way before Solo. You might have also heard that people walked out of Solo in the theaters because it was so dark. He didn't change. He still shot Star Wars, but he maintained his lighting approach because he wanted to do both films, but say, this is who I am. So I think you don't really have to make a choice. I think you can just be like, I think if you want to change your lighting style because that's who you are, you can do that. But there are plenty of examples of people who will do larger, more commercial films and still maintain their identity. I think that's also possible.
Also, the only thing I feel आपको सोचना चाहिए, आप ड्रामा शूट करो, आप थ्रिलर शूट करो, आप म्यूजिकल शूट करो, the only thing I think which will define you as a cinematographer is the consistently good work that you do. Now we know, look at someone like Roger Deakins and we say, perfect filmography. Like every film he shot, it's amazing. The same guy did Skyfall, the same guy did Blood Simple. Okay, तो ये totally different films है. आपके definition के हिसाब से, maybe you will say कि Blood Simple is like an art film and Skyfall is like a commercial film. But what defines Roger Deakins is consistently great choices. Whether it is palette, whether it is lenses, whether it is camera, whether it is the style of work. And you know it is a Roger Deakins film. But the beauty of Roger Deakins' thing is, and he always talks about it, and I think most of us also believe in it, is never draw attention to the camera. The minute people are noticing the camera, that means your storytelling has failed and you have failed as a cinematographer. So I think that philosophy of Roger Deakins is what makes him so great. And what at least I try to emulate in my life is never draw attention to my own work. Let the story speak for itself. And then फिर credits आएंगे तो maybe people will recognize, oh, the camera work was also really good. So that is what you should aim for, that consistently great performance as a cinematographer. That's all.
I want to add something to that. This is the most important philosophy, that you have to be invisible. Your storytelling, anytime that you're drawing attention to yourself, to the visual, you might be hampering the storytelling. However, in today's time, as a cinematographer, I feel it's a responsibility that we have to allure people to the theater, to bring them to the theater, and you have to give them a grand cinematic experience. Otherwise, they know the film is going to come on OTT a few months later, and you can watch it at home. So, I mean, I want to throw it to all of us that that's a conflict that you have sometimes. That I know that my image has to be very powerful. It has to be very cinematic. It has to be very attractive. And somewhere it's a very fine line that you have to draw. That of course, invisible. It can't draw attention. All that is fine. But it has to be a grand image that people are going to, move out of the comfort of the home. They're going to come to the theater, buy a ticket, and watch it. And this, you have to kind of convey this at a trailer level. So that's also something that
So I have a little phrase for this, which is that I coined it for myself a few years ago. That if it's feeling right, it must be looking right. So in some sense, drawing work and attention towards your own work is not your intention at all. If it does, for some reason, supersede, let's say, and the whole film is not a symbiotic piece, and it does actually stand out, it's not always your fault, really. So in that sense, you were talking about commercial and non-commercial and so on. But really, that is something, it's really an individual perception of what is commercial and not commercial for you and for anybody else. But the important thing is what Neha said, that stay true to what you're doing at that point in time. Maintain your artistic integrity. Nobody wants to compromise their own artistic integrity, and you want to protect that artistic integrity no matter what, right? So that's what the intention is, really, to protect your artistic integrity, even if you're doing something which is going to bring in the bucks, That's the conflict really. That's what you want to be able to surmount.
Thank you so much.
Any more questions? Last 5 minutes, 2 minutes.
Hi, my name is Arun, and I want to ask basically as a budding first AC, second AC, etc., on the path of working our way to becoming cinematographers, since you all have seen a lot of first ACs come and maybe some have made it, some have not, probably picking your brain in that sense, what is the thing to do apart from skill acquisition, meaning operation and all of that, what is it that we should be doing to, invest better in us becoming cinematographers in the next years coming, be it networking or be it anything, like just to pick your brain in that side, I would like to ask.
Before we get into the technicals of all of this, let me tell you what cinematography is. It is 90% people skill and 10% what you show on screen. So as an assistant, you need to start building your relationships. That is key to you getting anywhere. That is key to you getting your foot in the door when you want to start out. So it is 90% skill management when you're a first AC or a second AC and you treat the people that you're working with badly, whether it's your light boys or anyone else on the crew, and you treat the people who are senior to you very well, everyone is noticing what you're doing. So, I mean, before we get into the technicalities of it, that's what I want to tell you.
Even as a cinematographer, I am only visualizing it and getting it done by people. I mean, it has your people, your assistants, your lightmen who has to believe in your vision, and they have to give their 100% to achieve that. So, I mean, being a people's person is very, very important at every stage.
Yeah, sometimes, people are not always interested in what you want to do, but you have to make them interested in what you want to do. That is a skill. And like Neha said, people skill is something that is one of the top skills that is required to work in team art. And if you can't handle egos and you can't handle temperaments and moods and so on, you might have a tough time yourself.
Yeah, completely agree with what they said. I would also add that if you said you're currently working as a first AC or second AC, on the next job or the current job you're on, I would highly recommend speaking to your cinematographer about being there for every single prep meeting that they have with the director. That's the one thing that I'm doing with my ACs right now on this project that I'm on. I'm making sure they're there. If the DA is there with the director, then they both need to be there because they're going to learn after this project how to make those color palette conversations go forward, how to make those decisions about locations, because just showing up on set and doing that work is just too logistical. You have to be a part of the creative conversations so that when you get the opportunity to be a cinematographer, you know what to do.
So, I never was fortunately or unfortunately never worked as a first AC. So when I came to Bombay, I went and met a lot of DPs and I was like, I need a chance. Can I get a chance to work with you? And everybody told me our team is full. We're really sorry. And there was a couple of DPs who asked me, so what are you doing? So I said, I'm shooting. I'm doing photography. So they were like, just keep shooting then. Just keep shooting. And one gentleman just said, what is stopping you from shooting now? And I was like, at that time there was a lack of stock, so I had to go and collect like loose ends and started shoot with that. So I tell my assistants also that you have to just keep shooting. Otherwise, you might become a lifer. And like Prateek said, it's really important to be also part of the creative process. So I have had my assistants actually, and some directors have given my assistants narrations of the film with me, and they will take their feedback also. So be part of the be part of the shoot and be part of the post. But the bottom line is that you are going to get cinematography work not as a first AC, only as a cinematographer when people see what you have shot. So you have to keep shooting. And today the barrier to shooting is very low. So ultimately all of us here, self-motivation and pushing yourself to do this is the only barrier now. And that is going to come from within you. So.
I want to add something to what Manu said. He's spoken about keep shooting and also be a part of post-production. So for all of you ACs out there, I can't emphasize enough, if you can afford it, spend time in post-production, because the cinematographer's job is never over till post-production and till he's actually colored and finished the image, whether it's months and months of VFX work and VFX teams working on your image collaboratively or with the colorist. So don't ever undermine the importance of post-production and finishing that image in post. So all you ACs, do pay some attention to that, right?
So I just want to point out, my assistant is sitting here. Akanksha, stand up. She's one of the finest ACs. She was part of the pre on Bulbulia, the shoot of Bulbulia, and she was with me through months of Bulbulia's post. And not only that, we had 25 VFX shots that I wanted to get done, and production was saying, oh, there's a budget issue and stuff. So I told Akanksha, let's do it. And Akanksha, she doesn't have credit, but I call it Akanksha Srivastava VFX, did 25 shots for the credit sequence. She did the VFX on those shots. And her greatest asset is that she's willing to learn. She could have said, oh, it's not my job to do this VFX, but I'm like, come, we'll do in today's day and age, we can do this on a MacBook Pro. And she did it. So just keep pushing the envelope, guys. Don't restrict yourself at all. There are DOPs these days who are shooting, editing, grading, doing VFX, and they're a one-stop shop. I feel like I have to update myself all the time because the technology is moving so fast and the barriers are so low that there's no excuse at all. So
there's just one thing I would like to mention from a personal experience as a first AC. So I have had the good fortune of working with really good DOPs, and we used to have like storyboards made. So on the storyboard, we used to start writing whether this is like just a simple shot, or this is over the shoulder, or there is a track and trolley movement, or there is some sort of steady cam or jimmy jib or all of that. And I used to make sure that all the storyboards were properly named and numbered and everything scene wise, and go through it over and over again. And then when the cinematographer I worked with used to have that little time, maybe between two scenes or when we are lighting up or something like that, I used to be like, sir, why are we doing this trolley? Why are we doing this as a steady cam? Is there like a narrative need to do it, or are we just doing it because, say the director wants it or something? That kind of conversation. And I'm not saying that you'll always get a great answer because everyone's so busy and stuff like that. But sometimes, if you have that kind of curiosity, eventually when you become the DOP, you will actually ask questions like that. Like, why are we doing this movement? Why are we placing the light in a certain way? Why are we having a particular contrast ratio? If we have chosen the color of the background or we have chosen the color of the costume a certain way, why? Because say your DOP is not able to take you to those creative meetings, which Pratik said we should go to, but if they are not able to, then this kind of questions coming into your mind not just makes you a better first AC, will eventually make you a great DOP. So that's my 2 cents on it.
Thank you so much. I had a quick this thing, if I may, which was just that any pitfalls for early DPs that you all have observed in general over all of these times that that you could inform us that we could avoid, anything like that. Thank you. Any pitfalls that early DPs who are entering the industry in the first 3 years, maybe that you all see that are mistakes that people could avoid, we could avoid if we were aware of. That's it.
I have a funny story for this. So when I got out of film school, I did a job where what Ane said really happened to me. So I was supposed to shoot a particular way, and I ended up shooting it not that way. I shot it another way. But it felt right and it looked right to me. And I realized that I'd made a mistake, and I went and spoke to a senior DP and I said, this happened. And he's told me, well, were there any repercussions? I said, not yet, but what if they say this? He said, well, if they don't say anything, you don't say anything.
Great. So that brings us to the end of this very intriguing, exciting, very gripping, and the most engaging session. Thank you so much. A huge round of applause for our panelists. I invite Kavita Sharma, Senior Director, Nürnberg Messe India, to please hand over mementos to our esteemed speakers.